We are talking to Melanie Gurley today about her book, Venus Retrograde, the beautiful astrology's Venus Retrograde Guide and Workbook, which is awesome. It's a creative process for clarity and insight. Melanie Gurley, we're so glad you made this book. And I wanted to just take the time because Venus is going to be doing a retrograde this fall. And I want to talk about the specific dates, but also just like you and your process with this and your relationship to Venus and like what you feel, like what brought you to creating this book and just anything you want to start us off with that we should know.
I love it. Thank you. So I would say this book is partly influenced by my natal chart and with prominent Venus placement, and also, though, by my astrological work, because I started noticing, especially when I worked for a time on an astrology app where I did a whole bunch of readings, really short, really fast all together. I had to get in, get out. And it was like everybody was in the middle of a retrograde. It was just what they were. And not, I don't even mean like there was a retrograde happening, but like they would recount their histories and we would look at the timing and I'd be, oh, of course, it was a retrograde, like, so retrogrades just became a thing for me in my reading. And I will say that it wasn't everyone, like all of the astrologers who worked there, we had a little group chat and we would talk, and different people had different things that they were attracting in, right? Just naturally, right? We're all made differently. So other people would always get, these love dramas, and other people would always get like family, like parental lineage stuff. And other people would always get like all the ghost story, like everybody had their own specialty, and it just seemed like I was attracting these retrograde stories. And so it just naturally became a thing for me. I was aware of it. I had a lot of practice of reading it in people's charts. And then I started developing the retrograde clubs because I was like, people are going through these retrogrades. It's what they have questions about. It's the times that make them confused. So it just seemed like a group support model would be appropriate. And people seem to love those. And along with the clubs, I made retrograde kits. So for each retrograde that we were focusing on, whatever planet and whatever sign, I made little kits that were very specific to that timing. And then eventually we wanted to spread the love and make it more available to everyone anytime. And we decided to start with Venus because, like I said, she's prominent in my chart.
Well, yeah. And so one of the things that you talk about in the book, and I know from your retrograde clubs and just from being your friend and talking with you, is about retrograde logic. And I think you've really built it into the process, the Venus retrograde process. Did you want to share just a little bit about what that looks like to you, like what you've seen over time and with all these different folks and just in your own experience? Because you did a lot of really personal research. I remember when you would like, okay, here's Venus would make her ingresses and you would, like attune and go to the rose garden or go to special places.
Mhm.
I just feel like you've had a lot of very direct research and experience, both with Venus and with retrogrades. So I just asked you two questions at once, but I'm interested in the retrograde logic and how you see that playing out. And then, of course, I just want to honor your direct process with Venus.
Thank you. Yeah, I did do a series. I was writing blogs and did the mandala project, which you're talking about. That, yeah, for every ingress, we went to a locale that was appropriate given what sign she was ingressing into. And then we made some kind of mandala, and I invited friends and strangers to come play. Like for Venus in Leo, we went to the Rose Garden. And for Venus in Virgo, I took a bunch of herbs and we made like an herb mandala around this statue in a public park. That just fun things like that. And yes, did a lot of personal reflection. And with the retrogrades, a lot of the wisdom has come from people in the clubs. I would say that, like the astrology just doesn't lie, and our experiences are the testament to that. So it's been really wonderful to work with people through the topsy-turvy times, which brings in the retrograde logic that you were mentioning, where you just have to it's not exactly expect the unexpected, but it's more like take a pause and consider things inside out and upside down and backwards.
We're coming up to a retrograde here. We're in like Venus here is like cruising along through Libra and on into Scorpio, and then she'll stop, what is it, October 3rd for a retrograde. So right around 8 degrees Scorpio, and then she'll go back into Libra. So we have a Scorpio Libra retrograde this fall, 2026. And I'm just wondering if you have thoughts about this specific one coming up or what you feel like is would be a worthy kind of way of honoring this particular topsy-turvy loop-de-loop.
Yes, well, I held a class recently in Portland here at a little witchy shop, and it honestly seemed like people were already had stories in the works. And that's true often, our one little planet does not operate in isolation, right? It's part of a broader tapestry. And something I was talking about in that class is how the opportunity when a planet goes retrograde is like, imagine there's all these threads being woven through a tapestry, right? And somehow one of them kind of like maybe gets in a little knot or something. So you have to pull it out and straighten it out and tighten it back up and get it to comply with the rest of the weaving. And what that kind of means is if you think of each thread as its own timeline, so every topic, it's not like normally when we think about time, we think there's one time. There's like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, right? It's one big thing. But when you think in terms of astrological time, you can imagine that there's maybe 12 or whatever, pick your number, 12 threads being woven, or 9 or 17, depends what you're looking at and counting. But either way, it's like a rainbow of time being woven. And so it's possible to pick out a topic of time. So let's say Mercury would be more like logistics and travel and writing and those kinds of things. And Venus would be more like relationships and creativity and exchange and care. So when a planet goes retrograde and does its little loop-de-loop, it's like it's slowing down time, but only for that one topic. So it's the rest of time keeps marching on, but this one little thread is snagged and you have to go back and figure out what's going on and make it line back up. And so it's really a gift, an opportunity to fix that snag so that you don't just pass it by and then have this terrible imperfection in your weaving.
Oh my God, that is so beautiful. Thank you for the image of the rainbow of time and for just really kind of taking a minute to consider each of these threads and how they all fit together. And I did want to just check if you want to give any sort of example of what it might look like or what the benefit might be for folks with working through the book, working through your process, uh, the creative process for clarity and insight that you really outline beautifully in this book. And I mean, one of the things I'll just say very briefly is that I love how you've set this up to be very interactive. And I was going to try to show some of the pages inside, but it's really designed here to be a very personal journey.
So part of the reason for it being a workbook is because astrology is ultimately extremely personal. There is sometimes like a general relevance when you can see in the world, like with Mercury's retrograde or whatever. I keep bringing up Mercury just because it's so vast and observable. Like it happens 3 times a year. It's really obvious when stuff is doing the Mercury retrograde thing. Like you can just hear it in snippets around you or wherever you work. You can just see like, oh, they're being affected. It ties into their chart. You can just kind of feel it in the air. So that it can be sometimes in the air like that. But then what really makes it sparkle is when you see it with the timing in people's charts and their personal experience. And what I have found in the retrograde clubs, which is partly why we made the book, is because people were so grateful to have this process where they can personalize the astrology for one thing, but also have a way to move through it gracefully so that it kind of anchors, I want to say, into your soul or something. It has its own meaning and it helps you navigate your way on your path. And consistently that's feedback I've gotten from people in the clubs. So that's kind of the point of the book, is to have a friend who can come with you and sort of like an ally on the path in ye old myth they accompany you. And I was about to say point you in the right direction, but that's not exactly it. It's just that they come along for the ride.
I love that. I love thinking about it as a companion, and besides just that it's this very pretty book, it
It is.
really is, and it's a very friendly book. And
Mhm.
like the way that you wrote it, I feel like it does feel very companionable, very much like a jaunty travel mate along the path. And I love thinking about it in that way. And I, as you know, I mean, we're both like that. With our Virgo sons, we're
Mhm.
very happy to have a place for notes and a place to have like more direct hands-on experience and reference points for the whole process, whatever it is. And so the fact that you've pulled out this thread to really help us have a touchstone through the Venus cycle, retrograde cycles is really lovely. So is there anything more that you wanted to say or comment on for this?
Yes, actually, one that you brought up and mentioned is, and it's a game I think we've developed together. I don't remember now, but you're obviously the Sabian symbol queen, but pulling out the symbols for the retrograde stations and weaving those together is such a fun extra layer to the game, which is not in my book. So this is total bonus material right here. And you have those symbols at the ready.
I do. They're really interesting.
Mhm.
So stationing, the retrograde station is in the 8 to 9 Scorpio, 8 to 9 degree Scorpio. So that's 9, which is a dentist at work. Or the original phrasing is dental work. But I was talking to a friend whose son is at that degree and realizing that she actually does very fine work with metals with her hands. And I feel like that is a dentist at work. But anyway, so that's the stationing retrograde degree is 9 Scorpio, dental work or a dentist at work. And then the stationing direct, which is on November 13th, is in the 23rd degree Libra, which is Chanticleer. And I've seen this one and I finally looked it up. Do you know this one?
It's a rooster. Yes, yes.
I think it's super interesting because it's not like a rooster even. It's like a character's name or
Hmm.
something. So I did not see that one coming. So anyway, there we have it. Dental work and a chanticleer or chanticleer. Maybe it's a proper noun. It's like a name.
Hmm. Well, and it's funny because rooster don't have teeth. But regardless, it seems like a wake up call or like a broadcasting, like shouting from the rooftops. But then about this like fine little dental work and what interesting. Yeah, that'll be fun to watch in the news, I bet.
It will be interesting.
Hmm.
It's having a chanticleer at dawn, like brr, brr. Everybody pay attention to a lot of tiny things that help us digest.
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. And like and just like cleaning, very careful, intentional, in-depth cleaning of like the corners and crevices and make it shiny. It makes me want to go home and clean my house.
It's such a Virgo vibe, and yet it's a
Yeah. Well, it,
Scorpio.
it feels a little bit like I sometimes relate Scorpio to like detective work. It feels more like that. Like it's in this orifice that normally doesn't see the light of day where the rooster crows. So there's something about showing off the inside, maybe.
Oh, I like that. That's
Hmm.
really, yeah, it will be interesting to see what
Hmm.
shows up for people. And so the retrograde cycle is basically October 3rd to November 13th, but we do have the shadow period, which does get figured into your process in the book.
Hmm.
Um, do you have the dates for that shadow period? I
It's
started.
essentially September. I think it's like August 31st. And then the retrograde is essentially October, even though it dribbles into November. And then the other shadow's essentially the rest of November. I think it's December 4th.
We have from the end of August through the end of November that is the prime window for being in relationship to this Venus retrograde
Hmm.
time. Is that,
Yeah.
yeah.
You can think of it as a sandwich. Like the shadow is like the bread and it's like a little retrograde, but not really. It just relates. and then the meat or the veg is is the retrograde proper.
Oh, good. I'll have a tofu Reuben, please.
Yum.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I think that it's a perfect time to have a little travel mate for this next, for September, October, and November. All of our fall months are really going to be informed by this retrograde time, and we'll just see what comes through. It's going to be personal and collective, although
Mhm.
these are mainly personal planets, but of course, the personal is all of us. And
Yeah.
so, Melanie, I wanted to say thank you. I really appreciate you taking time to chat, and I look forward to
Yeah.
talking more. And obviously, people who want to get the book, they can get it from you if they're in Portland, and they can get it from the Earth Dragon Press website, which I will also share. Thank you. Blessings, Venus, blessings.
Yay, blessings, Venus.